So when I was up in the middle of the night, I was just strolling around through Craigslist. And yeah, so the ad was an obvious eye grabber. So it was in all capital letters, Hawaiian Coffee Farm. And I was like, oh, hell yeah, call on that.
Aloha and mahalo for joining us today. Welcome to our new Meet the Makers virtual event series in partnership with Hawaiian Airlines Bank of Hawaii World Elite MasterCard. I'm your host, Melly James, co-founder of Mana Up, a statewide economic development initiative to expand Hawaii's economy by helping to grow our island's rising entrepreneurs. We're thrilled to be teaming up with Hawaiian Airlines to bring Hawaii to the world through this brand new event series. If you're a card holder, you'll be excited to know that you can earn 2 bonus miles for every $1 spent when using your Hawaiian Airlines Bank of Hawaii World Elite MasterCard on all your houseofmanaup.com purchases. If you're interested in applying to be a card member and enjoy all the amazing perks of being a member, be sure to check out the links in the comments section below. During our Meet the Makers series, we'll be island hopping across 9 destinations across 3 islands and 8 small towns. You'll embark on the ultimate adventure across the Hawaiian Islands with us from all the comfort of your own home. When you're tuning in from Honolulu or San Francisco or Tokyo or anywhere in between, we are thrilled to kick off our series with our friends from Big Island Coffee Roasters. We've got Brandon Von Damitz and Kelleigh Stewart. Brandon and Kelleigh participated in our Mana Up Accelerator program in 2018 to expand their local coffee business and scale to global markets. Today, we're taking off and arriving in the small rural town of Puna on Hawaii Island. Hawaii Island is best known for its Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, Rainbow Falls Hike, Mauna Kea, and of course, Kona coffee. But did you know that there are amazing coffees produced all throughout the island of Hawaii outside of Kona? We're here with Kelleigh to tell us more.
There really are. They're fantastic coffees grown all over Hawaii, and we started Big Island Coffee Roasters a decade ago to bring these coffees to the world. Today, we are most noted for our roast-to-order line of 100% Hawaiian coffees from every district of Hawaii.
All right. And so, I want to make sure that we chat about this. So we've got our amazing coffee set that came alongside our Meet the Makers series. So Kelleigh, do you want to share with us what's in the box?
I'd love to. We put this together just for Mana Up viewers. We've got Hawaiian Harmony, which is a Hawaiian blend. We've got Ka'u Darkwood, which is from the south region of Hawaii Island. And Kona Peaberry, this is exclusive to the Mana Up set. We also have a $10 gift card for anything that you can buy on our online gift store or online shop, and lip balm made from Hawaiian coffee.
All right. Well, thank you. You guys can still get your sets at houseofmanaup.com if you want to retaste the coffees or you didn't get one. They're all still there. All right. So let's get started. So Kelleigh, many people are used to grabbing their brew, on the go from their favorite coffee shop.
Yeah.
So can you tell me why I would want a coffee online if I have a coffee shop right next door?
Well, there are 3 great reasons: value, variety, and experience. If you want to control your experience, number 1, and get the biggest selection of coffee, then you can buy them from an online store. Furthermore, the value is fantastic. You can purchase coffees online and enjoy them for about $1 to $3 a cup when you brew them at home.
All right, that's awesome, Kelleigh. All right, so why don't we move into that, it's great that you're not only saving money, you're supporting small local Hawaii farmers and of course coffee makers.
Yeah.
So before we kick off today's adventure, we want to take care of some housekeeping. If you have any questions that come up during the event, please feel free to submit them in the comments and we will address them throughout today's live streamed event. For the tasting portion of this experience, if you purchase this month's tasting set, like we just showed you, be sure to get that ready and set aside these other items like your French press, your water, your filter, and all the other supplies needed if you're going to be making the coffee alongside us. Now I'll hand it over to Brandon at the Big Island Coffee Roasters Farm.
Aloha everyone, Brandon from Big Island Coffee Roasters here, and welcome to our mill and roastery. This is where at least a good portion of the magic happens. I'm going to take you through all of our quality control steps in just a little bit, but first I want to introduce you to the coffees in this great variety pack set available from Mana Up. I'm not going to delay, I'll get right to it. The best of the best right here, baby. This is Kona Pea Berry, and not just any Kona Pea Berry, it's actually the highest rated Kona Pea Berry available on the market today. This scored a whopping 94 out of 100 points by Coffee Review just a couple of months ago. Now, this is a personal favorite of mine right now. I hope you love it just as well. This coffee is like the classic example of why Kona coffee has the reputation that it has and why it has held that reputation for a long time. It's beautifully sweet and smooth with delicate floral notes, lovely caramel sweetness. It's a lyrical coffee, honestly. I would speak too much about it right now, but I'll spare you the poetry. This is going to be really lovely for you to taste. And Kelleigh is actually going to show you how to brew this coffee via pour over, and she'll give you plenty of great tips and fundamentals so that you guys can taste everything that we want you to taste in this coffee and what makes this coffee so unique, special, and full of vibrant flavors. Second coffee in the set is our Hawaiian Harmony. Now, we don't really do blends for Hawaiian coffees, but this one is our 100% Hawaiian blend, and we formulated it originally for espresso, but it turns out it's just a really nice balanced cup of coffee. So it turns out beautiful in espresso, but it's also fantastic via French press as well. Kelleigh's gonna give you a great French press recipe for this coffee. And I think, the thing to take away from this is like, if you want a coffee that's super smooth, easy drinking, and balanced, this is the one for you. And this features coffees from Maui, Oahu, and we throw in a little dash of Ka'u coffee for a little added dimension and some slight fruit character as well. Last but certainly not least, we're gonna feature a dark roast from Ka'u. Now, I love the Ka'u region. Lovely, lovely coffees coming out of there. If you haven't heard of it, you do know about it now, and hopefully you get an opportunity to taste this coffee. This is actually a team favorite here for us. We really like it as espresso. Alternatively, it makes a fantastic cold brew. So this Ka'u Darkwood has fantastic fudgy, like blackberry fruit flavors to it. Really, really rich and very, very satisfying. Absolutely love this coffee. Yeah, we really like all of these coffees. I know it sounds like I'm saying too much, but it's all true. It's a variety that we wanted to showcase to people so that you get to experience sort of like the full spectrum of what Hawaii as a coffee growing region has to offer. Now, in addition to that, you're gonna get some excellent tips and techniques to get the most out of each coffee. So we've got 3 different coffees, and we've got 3 different brewing methods. And the reason why we do that is because each brewing method allows you to tailor what it is that you like about a certain coffee and get that experience in your cup. So if you're a person that likes a lot of brightness, a lot of fruit notes, we're gonna show you how to make that and how to get those qualities out of your cup of coffee using the kind of coffee that we think is best for that type of experience. And it's the same way if you like something more round, chocolatey, heavy body and really good mouthfeel. We want to show you and give you the opportunity to tailor your experience to whatever desires that you have for your coffee experience as well. So I'll stop rambling and hand it over to Kelleigh and Melly, who are going to take you guys through some of the brewing fundamentals.
So Kelleigh, can you share with us some secrets you have around behind brewing coffee?
I'd love to. So the benefit of being in Hawaii is that our coffees are some of the freshest that you can get in the USA, thanks to the fact that we can grow, source, roast, and ship directly from one state. So here are some of our secrets to retaining the best freshness and flavor that you can get from your coffee. So number one is that fresh is best. If you're going to store it over 3 weeks, put it in the freezer, but never refrigerate. A pro tip is that you can take it directly from the freezer and put it right in your grinder before thawing. The frozen beans actually grind more consistently when they're frozen.
Wow. Okay, so what do you think about buying whole beans versus grounded or ground beans?
Ground coffee? Yeah, it's a great question, Millie, because the myth is that you should always grind just before brewing your coffee, and the truth is that you just should not grind it if you don't have a good grinder. It'll actually do more damage to your coffee experience. So never grind it with a grinder like this. This is a spice grinder. This is meant for spices, not for coffee. It will actually create a bitter and sour cup. What you want is a burr grinder, which is like this. This is a Baratza Encore. They're great grinders. You can find them online.
So the spice grinder is the one with the blades that go like that when you push the button down?
Yeah, exactly.
Shoot, I have one at home.
Yeah.
All right. I'd have to mix that up. All right. Okay, last question. So are there tools or pieces of equipment that you would specifically recommend besides the burr grinder?
Yeah, if you are a coffee lover and you want to level up your game, which I totally recommend you do when you're dealing with coffees that are this great, number one, you need a scale. Ideally a scale that has a timer that's built in, unless you want to talk to Siri or if you have a cell phone that you can use. Number two, a grinder, like we already spoke about. This is a burr grinder. You can get them anywhere between $80 and $200. And this is very important and underrated. This is a kettle with a thermometer. You're going to always want to brew your coffee between 195 and 205. So these are the three pieces of equipment that you must have.
Wow. Okay. So can you tell us how long coffees actually last?
After the roast date, it's best to drink them within about 3 weeks. Okay. If you're using them for espresso, you can go a bit longer. But if you have a coffee that you really want to save for a special occasion, put it right in the freezer and seal it tight.
All right. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. So earlier today, we had a chance to go to the farm.
Yeah.
So we're going to head back over there and take a look.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Hey, Brandon.
Aloha, Melly.
Good to see you.
Great to see you. Come on over.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Finally here on the farm.
That's right. That's right. I'm going to take you behind the scenes, show you everything that we do in our process, farm to cup. Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
So this is where you do all the processing, milling, everything, and then you've got, of course, the farm. How many acres are we on?
We're on 3 acres. We've got about 2 acres planted to coffee. But yeah, this is where it all happens.
All right. I love it. It's so gorgeous. I can't wait to go cruise around.
Well, yeah. Let's go take a look.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're here right now in Kelleigh and Brandon's kitchen nook, where every morning you have your own wonderful ritual of coffee making, right? So, I feel like it kind of really opens up your senses and allows you to experience this kind of authentic coffees like never before.
Yeah.
So, I'll hand it over to you, obviously our resident coffee expert here, who'll guide us through a brewing training and tasting of the Hawaiian coffees included in your curated tasting set. So, all right, I can't wait to get started, Kelleigh. Can you tell us more about our first coffee we'll be brewing?
Yeah, so the first coffee that we're brewing is Hawaiian Harmony. It is a 100% Hawaiian blend of coffees from the Big Island, Maui, and Oahu. We are going to be brewing it via French press. Now, this particular coffee has notes of roasted nuts and butterscotch. It's a fantastic coffee for espresso, actually, and it's, of course, great for French press and the immersion style brewing in general. And what this particular brewing style does for a coffee like this and in general is it really brings out the body and creates a rich, heavy experience. I know this is going to sound funny, but I love French press on rainy days when you just want the comfort of a full-bodied cup of coffee. And this is
like that comforting feeling where you're just like...
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Some coffees and roast brewing methods are for mornings, others are for afternoons, some for rainy days. So, once again, I think that this is a great brew method for for Hawaiian Harmony. So before we get started, what I want to point out is that we need the coffee coarsely ground. So take a look at this, and this is like a sea salt. This is like a rock sea salt kind of consistency. It has to be more coarse than your typical drip brewer.
So like if I use that blade, the salt thing, it just gets too powdery. For a bunch of other reasons why it's bad.
If you have powder and coarse in the same brewing, in the same brew, you're going to get a bitter sour experience. And so what you're really looking for is the majority of it to be coarsely ground. And so in addition to that, what we are going to do is use a 1:17 ratio. Okay. And this is going to sound complex, but it's super simple and it is a game changer. For every 1 gram of coffee, you use 17 grams of water. If you want it stronger, it's 1:16. If you want it weaker, it's 1:18. But this is a really good place to start. I sometimes use Siri for things like this. Hey Siri, what is 30 times 17?
30 times 17 is 510.
So we're going to use 510 grams of water for this. I'm serious. This is how this works.
All right, 510, thank you.
Okay, so in addition to that, we're going to use water that is 200 degrees. So I put in my 30 grams of water, and now I have water that is 200 degrees. Hey Siri, set the timer for 4 minutes.
4 minutes.
Great.
Starting now.
Melly, will you grab me a spoon?
Can do.
Okay, so I am adding a little hot water to soak the grounds. It's about 150 grams, and then I'm just going to let it sit for a moment and soak that in. This is part of the process that seems arbitrary, but it really makes an awesome cup.
All right.
So after about 30 seconds, you can just stir it up. And now we are going to add the rest of the water and wait for Siri to tell us that 4 minutes is up.
I love it. So do you brew light coffees the same way as you brew dark coffees?
You know, I tend to brew darker coffees with a French press method because I want that full-bodied experience. And I also want to brew darker coffees at a lower temperature because hotter water brings out some bitterness in the cup. And darker coffees just have natural bitter notes to them. Lighter coffees, you're going to need more extraction, so I tend to brew it between 200 and 205. Okay, there we've got enough water. With this particular coffee, we brewed at 200 because it's a medium to medium dark roast, and that's just a great level for this particular coffee.
Got it. So why do some people think they like light or medium or dark? I mean, what are people's typical assumptions of what that means?
That is another awesome question. So light roasted coffees tend to have like brighter flavors and brighter notes. You can taste flowers, you can taste fruit, you can taste all of those intricacies of terroir. Darker coffees those notes get obscured. I kind of liken it to toast in that if you've got a great piece of toast and a poor piece of toast and you burn them both, they both taste like burnt toast. And the same goes for roasting. If you roast too dark, you really lose the whole reason why you just bought this incredible coffee. So when we do a dark roast, we roast it just a little bit lighter so you can taste the difference between our dark roast and, say, some other dark roast, or the reason that you are indulging in buying these fantastic coffees.
Got it. All right, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah,
I might
for sure.
switch up my ordering now.
Yeah. I mean, try it, and then if you get a lighter coffee, brew it with hotter water so you can get a heavier extraction. And if you, I swear by this tip, go home and do it. If you get a darker roast, brew it with cooler water and you'll be great.
All right, I love it. So I want to encourage everyone, as you have questions as I do, to please add them to the comments, and we'll be sure to get through as many as we can at the end. So there's no question off limits. Kelleigh and Brandon have just incredible, like, how many certifications do you have?
A lot of certifications. I'm a licensed Arabica Q grader and have some roasting certifications that we just basically got for fun. And also, Brandon and I have a green SEA green coffee and SEA brewing certification. So, all
right, I love it. All right, so now we're going to be continuing to heat the water, right? We've got a couple more minutes left.
Yeah, so I think it's a good time to transition back
All right.
and see Brandon at the farm.
Great. All right, let's do it.
So this whole operation is pretty incredible, but obviously you guys just didn't flick on the lights and this whole thing existed. So how did you start?
Right. So when we first got the farm and moved here in 2010, all we had with us for processing coffee really was a small roaster and this little thing right here.
This thing.
Yeah, tiny
right.
but mighty. So what this is called is a dry miller. And what the dry miller does is it actually removes a husk layer that surrounds the coffee bean itself. So what's this husk layer? Well, in the industry, when we buy coffee from farmers, we'll ask them, hey, how much parchment do you have? So this is what coffee parchment is. So what's really cool about this layer and what gives us a really kind of distinct advantage being at origin where coffee is grown is that this husk layer is a protectant. It helps preserve the integrity of the bean itself inside. Now, what that means is that similar to like peanuts, if you have a peanut that stays in the shell over time, it's going to preserve the quality of that nut. And so what the protective layer of this parchment does is the exact same thing for the coffee flavors. So
Until you're ready.
Until you're ready,
Yeah.
right. So it's like we will mill at least once a month, sometimes 2 or 3 times a month. So things are freshly milled and then they go right into the roaster. And so that means that they're protected throughout the life while they're in storage, and then as soon as we're ready to get that coffee roasted and send it out to people, that's when we mill and grate it. Versus like, say, most roasters on the mainland, the coffee has been milled like 6, sometimes 9 months before they even get to roasting it. And
It's kind of like when people like when they grind the beans, like before they make the coffee.
Right.
Like the fresher every process, the better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. Yep.
And what do you guys do with the husks?
Yeah, so with the husks, this stuff makes great bedding for animals. We use it for the sheep in the barn. We also use it for compost and also just as like a top dressing. Just goes around plants.
Well, we love those sheep. We'll have to go visit them soon.
Yeah, they like their treats. We're vending machines.
All right, so are we in the next phase of the process here?
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at?
Okay, so after we get done dry milling, we remove that husk layer. Now we've got green coffee. You could roast it, but we definitely want more quality control steps. So this is called a coffee grater. And what this does is that it effectively separates the coffee out by size. So
Size of the bean?
Size of the bean.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a big sieve, right? So on the top, you have the largest holes that separate out the biggest beans from the bunch. And then they progressively get smaller and smaller until you get down to like pea berries. So this is the machinery that allows you to separate out pea berry from everything else.
So the smaller the bean, the better, or is it just different?
It's just different, right? Generally, the larger the bean, the better, but that's definitely not always the case. Pea berry is a really good exception to that rule, but otherwise, honestly, too, it's just different. Just depends on the coffee, depends on the season.
Got it.
Yeah.
So are these ping pong balls in here? They look like ping pong balls.
They do, they do. So they're just little rubber balls that actually bounce around as the equipment shakes, and it keeps coffee from getting stuck in the holes. So it just keeps everything clear, keeps all the coffee moving, and I know it's really interesting looking with the upward slope, but the coffee actually rolls uphill in this scenario.
All right.
That's just part of the equipment. Yeah.
Love it.
So on this side of the machine, everything goes on the hopper on the other end, and then on this end is where all the coffee gets separated out into its different sizes. So you can see we have a couple of different references here as far as what we've labeled things. So 18 is actually 18/64ths of an inch. In Hawaii coffee grading standards, this is actually the fancy grade of coffee. That's the size that you need. For this one, it's 16/64ths of an inch. Hawaii grading standards, they call that number 1. Obviously, Peaberry, most people have heard of right here. Defects is what we call all the broken bits and pieces, because that's what's really great about this machine is that it removes all the chipped beans, the really small beans, stuff that's been damaged by insects or whatever else. That all gets thrown out of this chute. And then last but not least, we have the 19 screen size, which is the largest for the grading standards in Hawaii, and that's your extra fancy category right there.
What do you do with the defects?
So with the defects, we actually just compost them. Yeah, they go right out into the jungle. They go back to the land.
This feels like the most technologically advanced machine in here. We went from golf balls to this flat screen situation. So where are we at now? What's going on here?
Yeah. So this is the final step in the refinement process, right? And so this is called an optical sorter. And what this baby does is you put coffee up here in the hopper. It falls down through here in this chute, and then basically 2 really precise high-powered cameras inside here. They will look at every single bean individually and determine, based on what they look like, whether or not they're acceptable or whether or not we need to get rid of them, right? And so we actually have to program the machine to know what to look for and what to accept and what to reject. And so the precision of this machine is actually really, really astounding. You can see here on the screen, we've got basically a picture of beans, and this is when I put it through the training process and I said, hey machine, recognize these problem areas, and any bean that you see that has those issues, get rid of it. So whereas the grader was removing coffee based on its size, this is removing coffee based on what it looks like. And so that removes things like black beans, moldy beans, and also beans that are damaged by insects as well. And so it's really just that last step to make sure that we get all the junk out of the coffee so that all that's left is the best quality.
Well, it feels like you guys go through many processes to make sure you get the best beans. So I'm feeling really good here.
All right, good, you should.
All right, well, we're back at Kelleigh and Brandon's house and in their home kitchen. It was so fun earlier today to be up at the farm, so that's just fun. They're able to kind of bounce around. All right, so now we're going to be talking about the next blend included in your set. Kelleigh, Kelleigh's going to kind of tell us about this. And, this is a very highly anticipated blend that we've had here, and what makes this coffee so special and different from other Kona coffees. And that's actually a question. Like, what makes it so special? Keep hearing about it. I can't wait to try it.
So I'm excited to share this one with you, and this one is exclusive to the Mana Up set, which you can still get, and it's not on our website. So this is a 94-point Kona Peaberry, and as Brandon shared with you at the mill, a Peaberry is a different kind of bean, and this is one of the most sought-after coffees in Hawaii. Peaberries are rare in that they're only like 3 to 5% of the total crop. In a way, it's like a 4-leaf clover in that it's like a natural formation that happens spontaneously and can't be cultivated.
Wait, was that when we were in the golf ball section and there was the Peaberry? So that's like the small ones?
That is, sometimes they're large, but it's a different shape entirely.
Okay.
And so we sort those out just like you saw with the machine, and we roast those entirely differently because they're a different shape and they need a different roast profile. Now, like I said, this Peaberry was rated 94 points by Coffee Review.
That's a big deal.
It is the highest rated traditional Kona coffee. And I say
in the world.
Well, actually, it ties for the highest rate. Yes, traditional Kona coffee in the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I just wanted to really emphasize that because that's a big deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. And it's not just us. The farmers do a fantastic job. And our hope is just to be able to represent it well with fantastic, well, of course, roasting and to be able to pick a great coffee when we see it. And so this particular Kona has notes of like black cherry and plum and caramel. And we're going to brew it via pour over because we want you to be able to taste the nuance in this cup. Pour over is a bit cleaner than French press, and by that I mean that it's a little bit thinner. There are fewer particulate like coffee pieces in there, so it just provides a cleaner tasting experience. The other thing about this is that you might have a drip coffee maker at home. This is similar to a drip coffee maker in that we are going to be dripping it through a filter, but this actually provides a richer experience than a drip coffee maker. So if you've got a drip, go ahead and enjoy it. But if you want to venture into pour over, you'll have a richer experience for sure. So
I like richer experiences.
yeah, I mean, don't we all? So with this coffee, there's a couple of things. I'm just making sure that my temperature is set here. Great. One is that we're going to have a finer grind than we had with the French press, as you can see. It's more like a salt, and we've got this same 17-to-1 ratio, which is 17 grams of, 1 gram of coffee to 17 grams of water. And right there, we've got 205 degrees. So if you remember from the last brew tutorial, we had 200 degrees. We're brewing this one at a slightly higher temperature.
So why aren't we just pouring in boiling water? Just like a normal boil.
Because it will over-extract and create a bitter coffee. So, I mean, if you live at like 5,000 feet and water boils at a lower, like at a lower temperature, then sure. But if you're like so many others, so many of us, you're going to want to make sure that this has a higher temperature, 205, but I wouldn't do more than that.
Got it.
So with this, we are pouring in a circular motion. We're going to let it bloom for a moment, just like we did with the French press. And then we're going to continue pouring in. Now, ideally, the total brew time is between 3 and 4 minutes. This gentle pouring, like this in a circular motion, actually agitates it and creates a richer cup.
So are there different pour over methods?
Yeah, there are. There are quite a few. So some have filters and some are filterless. This is a filterless style, and I love the filterless style because you can't taste paper. For whatever reason, I'm really sensitive to the taste of paper, and some people are. So I wanted this to be a filterless pour over. There's also, here's another one. This one has a filter. This is an Espro. That's a really nice way of doing pour over as well.
All right, great, Kelly. So as we keep going through this filter, we're going to pour it in the cup.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Now this is just a little taste of the initial pour. And it's not going to be quite representative when we totally finish, but I just want to give you a taste as it is now.
All right, well, we'll get that going. And in the meantime, we're going to hear back from Brandon back at the farm, who's going to show us the roasting process.
Okay, so we've gone through 3 different pieces to get the perfect bean.
Right.
And they're still raw.
Yeah.
And finally we're at like the ta-da, the roaster.
It's the moment, right?
Okay, it's the moment.
It's the bean.
The perfect bean is now going to get the perfect roast.
That's exactly right. Okay, so in order to do that and to make it consistent, right? So one, we do something called profiling, which means that we tinker, we trial and error, we roast our coffee in a different way to bring out the best, really. Like there are inherent qualities in the bean. We want it to taste wonderful. We want that flavor to be very obvious for you, and we want it to come with like no bitter aftertaste. We want everything to be smooth, right? Basically, we're just trying to honor the bean as much as we can because we went through all that work, right? The farmer went through all the work. We just went through all the work refining it. So now let's not be lazy about roasting it. Like, let's roast it with a lot of attention and detail. So what helps us do that is actually this tool right here, which is roasting software. And what this does is that it allows us to see the profile that we determined for it. So it's like a recipe, right? Any chef has a recipe. If they want to make something great and they want to make it great every time, they need to have the same ingredients prepared in the same way, in the same order.
And that's that consistency as well.
Exactly.
Someone knows if they get a medium roast XYZ, it's
Yep.
gonna always taste like this.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly. That's why like our Kona pea berry is always going to taste the same, relatively speaking, because different seasons have slightly different results, but roasting it, it's going to taste the same every time. Same thing with like our Ka'u coffee or dark coffee, whatever else. We just want that repeatability, that consistency, so that there isn't all this variation of like, oh, sometimes this coffee was really bright and juicy, and other times it seemed maybe a little bit more flat.
But it's not like wine where you're like comparing years, because you really should drink coffee when you get the bag as soon as possible. So it's not like, oh, the 86 is better than the 88.
Exactly.
Because that's gone.
It is. It's
Okay.
gone. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so kind of the only thing that you have to determine that consistency is really the roast, right? Because it's the same crop year, but you're having different roasts of it, right? So like when somebody buys our Ka'u Morning Glory, for instance, in April, we want to taste the same in July. And the way we do that, it was with the roasting software. We get that repeatability, that consistency, and we can follow that recipe and have it taste wonderful every time.
So do you folks who actually ends up tasting it to make sure each batch is the same, or do you not have to do that because of the machinery?
So, I mean, the machinery certainly helps, but we definitely always cup every week. Every week we're cupping production roasts. And it's either Kelleigh, myself, but mostly it's our lead roaster, April, our production roaster. Yeah, she's on top of it. Make sure that we're hitting our marks every time, and that if there are any slight deviations, or if it's like, seems like the coffee isn't tasting as good as it was last week, then we'll just make slight adjustments to the roast profile. Because one thing that people don't understand is that coffee is actually alive. Even though it's a seed and it's in a dormant state, it actually changes over time. So we kind of have to keep moving with those changes in the roasting to make sure that we're doing our job and getting the best out of the bean as possible. Yeah.
We're back here with Kelleigh at their home kitchen, and also for our final tasting and brewing lesson featuring the Ka'u Darkwood, which I hear is a fan favorite of the Big Island Coffee Roasters team. So let's gear up to experience the very last blend included in your specialty curated tasting set.
Awesome. So Ka'u is from the southern tip of the Big Island, and our team loves this coffee. We use it as an espresso, as a cold brew. It has notes of blackberry and fudge, and as you can see, it makes a great cold brew. So because cold brew can take some time, up to 12, 16, 24 hours, we have videos ready for you on our website, and we're just going to play one of them right now.
All right, sounds good. right, that was awesome. Now we're back here in the kitchen again.
Yep. So what we love about cold brew is that it's smooth, rich, it's convenient, it's pretty easy to make, but sometimes coffee's just not available. And so we've got espresso bites, and we've got 3 kinds of espresso bites, one with sea salt, one with organic milk, and our classic, which is just vegan.
All right.
And so now we're going to do a short clip on espresso bites.
Well, I love the espresso bites, and I'm so glad we have them here. I always have one in my purse, just kind of a little pick-me-up between meetings. You don't have to have some horrible cup of coffee that somebody serves you at their office. Just crack it, eat it. So how many shots of espresso are in each bar?
Let's see. So the latte has 2, and the other 2 have 3, and they are made with 100% Hawaiian coffee. This is something that we came up with, and then we won $25,000 in a pitch competition to develop it. So we're really excited about it, and we are super stoked that they have gained so much popularity. I don't know if you know, but we were on Good Morning America.
Yep, I saw that.
Yeah, and Espresso Bites just.
So this is the first of its kind, right? So it's a bar that has no chocolate.
Yes.
Just coffee, cocoa butter, and sugar.
Yeah. So
Crazy amounts of caffeine. Don't eat it before bed. Don't mix it up with the
it's not
chocolate
that
bar.
bad, actually. 3 shots.
I don't know. I feel like when I did it, I was vacuuming my house for like
Well,
till
that's-
3 in the morning. That might just be me.
That's awesome.
All right, cool. Well, now I think we're up for Q&A. So I'm going to invite Brandon to come in and join us here in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And we have the famous Momo.
Had to bring a special friend.
Yeah.
Our newest member of the family. This is Momo, the little Balinese.
All right, so we've got some questions that have come in.
Yeah, right.
Fantastic.
So,
First question.
What are your thoughts on drip coffee makers?
I have a French press,
press,
but have never used it.
Okay, well, we spoke a little bit about this, but I think drip coffee makers can be fantastic. However, you need to make sure that it's SCA certified. SCA certification will verify that the water gets up to temperature, because the big issue with drip coffee makers is that sometimes the water is too low, the temperature of the water is too low, it doesn't extract fully, and the coffee can be sour.
Got it.
I would try a French press.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next question.
All right, next question. What type of filterless cone did you use?
That's pretty, isn't it?
It is
Kinto.
Kinto. Thank you. Yeah, this is a beautiful Kinto coffee brewer. Melanie and Brandon were in Hong Kong, and I spotted it in Hong Kong, and I just had to have it.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right, next question.
All right, next question.
Can you put
Can
the
you
coffee
put the coffee bag straight in the freezer, or
or
do you need to put another layer over the
If the
bag?
If the bag isn't open, yeah, you can put it straight in the freezer.
If it's
already open, then you can fold down the top if you want to do this,
and put a rubber band around
it.
And then you can put it in a plastic bag if you want to. One of the reasons why we have foil instead of compostable bags for our coffees is because it preserves the integrity for longer. And if we had compostable bags, you couldn't put it in the freezer, and it would stale faster in general.
That's a good tip.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any climate change or insect or any issues we're having here in Hawaii?
Should we have Momo answer this one?
Yeah.
It's too complicated.
Do you want to answer it, or I can go ahead?
Dive in.
Okay,
We absolutely have issues. We had Coffee Berry Horror was introduced in 2010, and we just got Rust, and you're the last coffee origin to get Rust. It's too soon to know what will happen with that.
But can you read the question again? It's just about pesticides and what kind of pest coffee has here?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, in terms of
coffee
growing origins,
we have it really lucky.
We don't have a lot of the issues that they have in other countries, and so our coffee is minimally treated, and yeah, we have it pretty easy still.
All right.
Yeah.
Those are our questions from we had a whole bunch of others, but that's all we have time for today. So thank you, Momo.
All right.
So
Mahalo,
Brandon,
for such an incredible coffee tasting
experience
taking us behind
the
the
scenes today.
I think I can speak for many of us when I say that we won't be able to taste coffee in the same way ever again. I know. Even this morning, I was just waiting to get here, so I just only drink your coffee. But we definitely look forward to creating all of our own at-home experiences. So I hope you all enjoyed our Meet the Makers event, and we will now open up the floor and be able to just close things out and be able to just look at the espresso bites, cold brew. And I want to thank you all for coming here and being transported here to Puna on the island of Hawaii Island. And thank you to Brandon Kelleigh again for this epic Meet the Makers experience and our virtual island hopping tour. So we're traveling to 8 more destinations this year, and our next stop is Kailua on Oahu's east side. There we will explore a real Hawaiian chocolate factory where Manoa chocolate founders Dylan and Tamara Butterbaugh craft their bean to bar chocolate. RSVP for this free event on August 19th and secure a spot now before it's too late. Also later this month, we'll be traveling to Kahului on Maui, where we will step into the kitchen of Top Chef finalist, Food Network Top Shelf finalist, celebrity chef and founder of Slab and Tin Roof Restaurant, Sheldon Simeon. There he will welcome us into his culinary quarters where he is known to cook Ono Hawaii cuisine that authentically represents the melding of cultures here in the island. To RSVP for this event and many more, to come visit houseofmanaup.com or click in the link in the comment section below. You'll also want to be sure to purchase the exclusive tasting set from all of our companies, but especially this one here with the coffees and the espresso bites bar. Get that in the link below. And also snag this specially curated set so you can really craft your Hawaii chocolate for our next session. All right. So we want to also mahalo again to our sponsor, Hawaiian Airlines, Bank of Hawaii, World Elite Mastercard. I want to remind you all that you can still purchase again the set that I just showed you, which you can find the links again below. All right, and if you want to rewatch today's session, you can go to our YouTube or our Facebook account. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Let's you guys say mahalo and close it out.
Thanks everyone for letting us show you into our world and get behind the scenes. So yeah, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us.
This was a rare experience. We appreciate you joining us.
Aloha everybody.
Aloha.